In the last class, we have seen the hybrid drivetrain, how exactly it can be constituted, and we have started with this topic. So this introduction we have seen in the earlier class. What is the importance of hybrid vehicles and how exactly they are performing. And here we can see initial objective of the developing of series hybrid electric vehicle was aimed at extending the drive range by adding an engine or alternator system to charge the batteries on board. So actually when we see the electric vehicle, only electric vehicle, what happens is when the battery gets discharged due to a long run of the vehicle, in that case when the battery gets discharged, in order to run it again for a further period, you need to charge the batteries. So this hybrid vehicle was developed just to support the battery in case if it is discharged. That means there will be a generator as well as an IC engine along with the electric motor, and that will run and it will charge the batteries, and in turn it will run the electric drive, that is motor. So that is how this was actually developed, and then it was actually modified to suit the requirements. So this diagram we have seen in the last class. So there are two types of hybrid designs. One is series hybrid and the other one is parallel hybrid. So in series hybrid and parallel hybrid, what are the various important considerations and important aspects, that also we have seen in the last class. So these are the some of the important things which we have seen in case of series and parallel hybrid. So out of this, in series hybrid, as we have seen, there is only one electric drive or drive mechanism for the wheels, that is only through the electric motor. So there is a separate generator and IC engine along with the fuel tank. This IC engine will be fueled through the fuel tank, and the generator will run because it is mechanically coupled with an IC engine. This generator will develop alternating power or DC power output that will be charging the battery through the power converter, or there could be any other such device which can convert a suitable power module into another power module. So this battery, now when it is discharging into the electric motor, this will run as per the requirement of the driver or the operator, and the power converter will control the input power to the electric motor such that it runs at various speeds depending upon the requirement. So here important thing is there is a necessity of a generator along with the IC engine and fuel tank. So here in case of parallel hybrid, this generator is not there. Fuel tank and IC engine, they are there and they are independently running the wheels. So this mechanical coupler, either it will couple IC engine or the electric motor depending upon the requirement. So this mechanical coupler is an additional thing here in the parallel hybrid. Here it is not there. Here there is a necessity of the component of generator which is not required in this case. So here in this parallel hybrid, we can couple or decouple this electric motor and IC engine separately to get the proper running of the vehicle. So this we have seen. And this part, configuration of typical series hybrid electric drivetrain, this also we have covered in the last class. We have seen all these components which are there connected in the block diagram, and we have seen what is meant by peaking power source. Then this peaking power source, whatever has been shown, this will provide the power to the electric motor if this generator is not in a position to supply the power to the motor under certain conditions, such that suppose if there is a sudden requirement of the higher torque or higher speed at a particular point of time, then this peaking power source can be utilized, and this will support the generator in supplying the power to the motor. If under normal running conditions, this peaking power source may not be connected to the motor controller. So this motor controller will actually draw the power either from peaking power source or generator and then supply it to the motor. Then this is the supply, this is the drive train or the transmission, mechanical transmission, and these are the wheels of the vehicle. And we have seen that mechanical brake controller, whatever is shown here, if there is a sudden requirement of the vehicle which is to be stopped, in that case you are applying brakes, mechanical brakes, and these mechanical brakes can control the vehicle immediately. And under other conditions, if you are braking the vehicle slowly, or say you are reducing the speed from a higher value to a lower value, then in that case this particular motor, this can run in the generating position. So whatever mechanical power or kinetic energy is developed in the wheels, this will be transferred back through the mechanical transmission drive to the motor. So this motor now, it will work as a generator, and this generator will feed back the power into the peaking power source either, or it can feed the power into the generator and to the engine. So here actually when we are looking at the generator here, this also can supply the power to the peaking power source under the conditions of this particular transmission which is being braked. So here this generator as well as this generator, both of them will pump the power into the peaking power source. The power cannot flow into this particular line because it is flowing only from here to here. Okay, but here the power flow can be in both the directions, either from peaking power source to the motor controller or from motor controller to the peaking power source. Similarly here also, this can be either in the forward direction from generator to motor controller or from motor controller to generator, depending upon the braking action. So in this braking action, now here there is one more term which we call as regenerative braking. So regenerative braking calls for the reduction in the speed of the motor, which can be captured, that energy which is lost in reducing the speed can be captured by using some other mechanism. This mechanism can be a regenerative mechanism, and this can again recharge the batteries in turn, so that regenerative action also will take place here. Then what is the need of this mechanical brake controller? Now suppose if you want to have regenerative braking is already taking place, and if you want to stop the vehicle suddenly, in that case this regenerative braking link, this cannot stop the motor or stop the vehicle immediately. So for stopping the vehicle immediately, you need to have this mechanical brake also along with the regenerative braking. So that is why this is required. So this part we have already covered in the last class. Now functions of each block, that also we have seen. Now here vehicle performance, acceleration, gradability, maximum speed is completely determined by the size and characteristics of the traction motor drive. Because here, as we have seen in the series hybrid type of vehicles, only the drive mechanism is derived out of the electric motor. So that is why that electric motor will decide the whole accelerating, gradability and maximum speed characteristic, and that will be decided by the electric motor. So that is nothing but the traction motor, what he says here. The determination of the size of the motor drive and gears of transmission is the same as in the electric vehicle design. However, the drivetrain control is essentially different from the pure electric drivetrain due to the involvement of an additional engine generator unit. So this is already covered. So we need to have an additional engine or generator unit so that it can power the battery, or it can charge the battery in the vehicle. This chapter focuses on the design of the engine alternator system, operation control strategy, battery size design. So these are all the aspects which can be treated in this particular topic. The term peak power source will replace battery pack, because in hybrid electric vehicles, the major function of batteries is to supply peaking power. So here you can see this is one more important thing which we can keep it in mind, that the battery pack is itself working as the peak power supply, PPS. So peak power supply or peak power source, this will be nothing but the battery pack, and under normal running conditions, the IC engine along with the battery pack, which will be say charging the batteries in the other way, that can work. And in this mechanism what happens is, battery pack itself will work as peak power source, and the major function of batteries is to supply peaking power. So here there will be a peaking power which can be called from the battery pack, and this peaking power or peaking power source can be replaced with other kinds of sources such as ultra capacitors and flywheels. So these two things can be the replacement of the peaking power source, or instead of battery we can have ultra capacitors and flywheels which can supply the sudden requirement of the power from the wheels. Then operation patterns for the series hybrid vehicles. What are the various operation patterns? Now from this figure you can see this particular engine and generator, whatever has been shown, this is totally decoupled from the drivetrain. So mechanical drivetrain here, whatever you see, this is totally decoupled from this engine generator. So this is mechanically coupled with a motor, and the motor characteristic or the control will decide the operation of this particular electric or hybrid vehicle, this particular movement of the wheels. And that is why this generator and engine you can run at any point of operation, or you can operate it at as per your requirement, so that need not be connected with directly with the driving wheels. So actually what happens is, this engine, whatever IC engine we have, this IC engine, as we have seen earlier in the IC engines, the various performance parameters of IC engines such as efficiency, then the tractive effort which is derived, then we have the fuel economy, how much fuel it requires for producing a particular amount of output power. So all these characters will decide the efficiency of this engine, which is the IC engine. And also we have seen in the earlier part that at a particular output power, the engine can operate at maximum efficiency. So efficiency curve, as you see, efficiency of IC engine with respect to output power, if you see percent efficiency and output power, you have this kind of curve. So this region this is maximum efficiency region. So if we operate the IC engine within this particular region of the output power, we get maximum efficiency. That means the fuel will be requirement will be less as per the maximum efficiency characteristic. So here you have the maximum efficiency. What could be the maximum efficiency of IC engine? It could be approximately 30 to 40%. Efficiency is 30 to 40%. Average efficiency and maximum efficiency, this could be approximately equal to 50 to 60%. So we can increase the efficiency of the IC engine by using this particular mechanism. Now what we can do here is, this IC engine, whatever has been shown, this can run within this period or within this output power. You can operate it by suitably controlling the engine controller. This engine controller in turn will be derived by or will be controlled by, monitored by this vehicle controller. Vehicle controller is the main brain behind all the mechanisms. This vehicle controller will control everything and monitor everything, starting from the charging of the battery, running of the IC engine, recharging, then mechanical brake operation, regenerative braking, everything it will control, and that is why this is known as brain of the hybrid vehicle. And as you can see here, if you operate the machine within this range, you get the maximum efficiency, and when you operate it here, you require less amount of fuel. So that is known as fuel economy. So this engine now you can operate in that period or in that operation region, and you can get maximum efficiency of the whole drive. So when you improve the efficiency of this engine, the efficiency of the whole mechanism of the electric or hybrid vehicle can enhance or can get improved. So now this is what we are going to see. Now you can run the engine at any particular region. Within this region only you can operate. The generator also will produce maximum power under these conditions, and this can give you the power to the motor, and again remaining power you can feed it to the peaking power source. So this is of course a battery now in this case. Now the speed and torque of the engine are independent of vehicle speed and traction torque demand, and can be controlled at any operating point on its speed torque plane. Now here this is efficiency versus output power. On similar lines, if you draw the torque speed characteristic of IC engine, you will get a similar curve wherein you can operate it as per the requirement of the torque and requirement of the output power. So with that, what you can do is, you can operate it at its speed torque plane, which is the desired one, which gives you the maximum efficiency. So generally engine should be controlled in such a way that it always operates in its optimal operating region, where fuel consumption and emissions of the engine are minimized. So within this region, again you can see, when you operate it under maximum efficiency region, the emissions from the vehicle, that also can reduce. So emissions of carbon dioxide or carbon emissions, in other words, they are reduced, and that too with minimum amount of fuel. Due to the mechanical decoupling of the engine from the drive wheels, this optimal engine operation is realizable. Now suppose if you directly use IC engine without any generator and without any battery or something, in that case what happens is, when you want to have higher torque, you are supposed to supply more fuel into the engine. If you require lower torque, you are reducing the supply of fuel into the engine or carburetor. So in that case, what happens is, you cannot operate the machine under this particular region, and as a result it can operate from this point till this point. So as a result, you can see the efficiency will vary widely on every conditions of the driving. Suppose if you are increasing the torque of the machine, what happens is the fuel input will be increased and the efficiency will reduce. So as a result, you can see when you have the generator and the IC engine coupling and the generator driving the battery or driving the actual motor, that can improve the efficiency because you can operate the IC engine within this range, and according to this you can have lower carbon emissions and lesser fuel consumption. So this drivetrain now has several operating modes which can be used selectively according to the driving condition and desire of the driver. These operating modes are given here. So depending upon the nature of driving, nature of the driver commands which he gives, you can divide it into different modes. So one is hybrid traction mode. Operating modes. One is hybrid traction mode. In this hybrid traction mode, there is a large amount of power which is demanded. That is, the driver depresses the accelerator pedal deeply. That means he will input the fuel into the carburetor with a wide or with a higher amount. Both engine or generator and peaking power source supply their powers to the electric motor drive. Now here you can see motor drive. This is supplied by the generator. This is for series hybrid vehicle. This is connected to IC engine. So this is mechanical coupling. This is electrical coupling, and this is also connected with motor controller, say, and then this goes to motor, and this is connected to wheels. Okay, this is a battery. This is nothing but peaking power source. Now in the first hybrid traction mode, what happens is the motor is to be run at higher speeds or higher torques. In that case, whatever generator is supplying from the IC engine, this generator produces some amount of electric power. This is given to the motor controller, and motor controller feeds the motor electric power to the motor, and this generator may not be able to supply the required amount of power under this condition. So in the accelerating mode, the driver will press the accelerator pedal. So P demand, this is equal to demand power needed by the wheels or drivetrain. Okay. So whatever demand power, so when the driver presses the accelerator pedal, this motor is supposed to run at higher speeds and higher torque, and under this condition, this P demand is nothing but the demanded power by the wheels. So under this condition, this P demand is equal to PCG plus PPS. So both engine and generator and peaking power source, they will supply the power to the electric motor drive. So here generator and PPS supply electric power to motor. So that is why this is PCG, this is nothing but EG, sorry, this is PEG. This is engine or generator power. PPS, this is power supplied by PPS, and this PPS is actually a battery, what we can see. Now here, under these conditions, what happens is, it will supply the power to the demand power to the motor supplied by motor. This power, demand power, is supplied by the motor. And here in this case, what happens is, usually engine generator charging is needed, since regenerative braking charging is insufficient. So when you are talking about the charging of the battery, this charging from here, because this is regenerative braking, even if you apply from here under the braking conditions, what happens is, sorry, here, now it is correct. In this case, when the PPS and engine, both of them supply power to the motor, the engine should be controlled to operate in its optimal region for efficiency. Now here in this case, PEG should be within the range which is decided by the earlier part. This is okay. This is operated in the maximum efficiency range so that the economy will be not affected. In this case, the engine should be controlled to operate in its optimal region for efficiency and emission reasons as shown in figure 7.2. The PPS supplies the additional power to meet the traction power demand. Now here, whatever power is supplied by the generator or the engine is not sufficient to power the wheels or to power the motor. So this power, additional power, whatever is required, this is supplied by the battery. So here PPS, this will be added to the engine power or generated power, and you will get the demand power like this. So here the total motor input power at this point so total power will be equal to engine power or generated power plus PPS. The PPS supplies the additional power to meet the traction power demand. This operation mode can be expressed as equation which is written here. P demand will be equal to PEG plus PPS. Now this is the characteristic which you can see as an example of engine characteristics and optimal operating region. So for any IC engine we have got such type of curves which is known as fuel economy curve, okay, and this has been plotted for the power which is developed by the IC engine against the crankshaft speed which is in RPM. So accordingly, if you see, optimal operating region which has been shown here is within this range, which is 100%, okay. This particular elliptical portion, if you operate the IC engine within this 100% of electrical or elliptical portion, you get maximum efficiency. That is what maximum efficiency range. Whatever I have shown earlier, I have shown it the graph of output power, a graph of efficiency against the output power. Similar characteristic is drawn with respect to output power versus crankshaft speed. So now what is this particular percentage representing? Optimal operating region of IC engine. So with this reference, this diagram is to be referred, and here whatever you see, relative specific fuel consumption. So specific fuel consumption, this we have already seen. Fuel consumption per unit distance traveled. So for per unit distance traveled, whatever consumption we have, fuel consumption, that can be written in terms of liters per kilometer. Okay, so for 1 kilometer distance traveled, what is the amount of fuel? That is known as specific fuel consumption. Now optimal fuel consumption, optimal SFC, this is nothing but SFC, is corresponding to SFC at or within maximum efficiency range. So within maximum efficiency range, whatever specific fuel consumption is there, that is known as optimal specific fuel consumption. Now, relative specific fuel consumption, this is calculated as actual fuel consumption per unit distance traveled divided by optimal specific fuel consumption. So this is how we calculate relative specific fuel consumption. If you multiply this by 100, this will become percentage relative specific fuel consumption. So for this, now relative specific fuel consumption, this is calculated with reference to this formula, which is the actual fuel consumption per unit distance traveled divided by optimal specific fuel consumption. Okay, so here this is multiplied by 100, so you get percentage value. Now at optimal SFC, percentage relative SFC this 100%. Okay, so when you are operating the IC engine at optimal specific fuel consumption, you get relative specific fuel consumption as 100%. So this is the 100% part which is done here. So this is the elliptical portion in which if you operate the engine, it will operate under maximum efficiency conditions. So and here as you can see, when you are running the vehicle only with the help of IC engine, you cannot operate the engine within this range. It is not possible, because if you want to have higher speed beyond this value, say beyond 3500 RPM, then you need to go into higher specific fuel consumption. So as you go on increasing the speed here, what happens is the specific fuel consumption, relative specific fuel consumption increases 100%, 107, 15, 135 and so on up to 300%. So you can see this specific fuel consumption will increase as a result of increase in the crankshaft speed beyond this range. Now here, from here till here, you get the optimal operating range for the engine, this much, and that too within this particular narrow part. Okay, and as a result what happens is, when you are running the machine or when you are running the vehicle along with only one IC engine or only IC engine, in that case the fuel consumption will change. So if you are operating the vehicle at this particular speed, suppose here approximately or here, in that case the speed is around 4200 and power output is approximately 20 kilowatt. So for 20 kilowatt and 4200 RPM, you have to have 300% of specific fuel consumption. That means the fuel will be pumped in more in quantity, and as a result the efficiency will come down. So more is the relative specific fuel consumption, less is the efficiency. So here relative specific fuel consumption, when it increases, efficiency decreases or drops. That you can see here from this. And here you can see maximum power curve. This maximum power curve decides what is the maximum amount of output power the IC engine can develop, irrespective of the amount of fuel consumption. What is the maximum power which it can develop at various speeds, that is shown by this maximum power. So all these curves, whatever you see, these are all included inside this maximum power curve, because at any point of time or at any point of operation, the output power cannot go beyond the maximum allowable power curve. So that is why all the points will be within this particular power curve. And now why this particular graph has been shown is because you can see that optimal operating region for the IC engine is within this particular narrow part. So now what we can do is, in the earlier portion, what I have shown here, block diagram. Now this is the IC engine for which we are talking about the specific fuel consumption. So when you have 100% relative specific fuel consumption, it operates at maximum efficiency. Now this engine can be always operated within the specific fuel consumption around 100%. Within that narrow range, only you can run the engine, because it doesn't matter as a result of this engine not directly coupled with the transmission gear. It is connected through generator, motor controller and then motor and to the transmission gear. So that is why there is a freedom to operate this engine at any operating point or at any operating range. So as a result, the efficiency of this engine can be always attained at its maximum value. That is the advantage of having this kind of hybrid electric vehicle operation. So here this is how it is obtained. Now here what is done is, the demand power is met by the generated power plus power due to PPS. So the PPS always will aid the generated power to meet the total demand power. So this is known as hybrid traction mode. So this is hybrid traction mode. Then next one is peak power source alone traction mode. Second one, PPS alone traction mode. Here the peak power source alone supplies its power to meet the power demand. So P demand is equal to PPS. So here the engine is not at all running. IC engine is not running. Only the demand power, the demand power is supplied only through the PPS. So this can happen when the vehicle does not require more tractive effort, when it is moving on a plane surface with a sufficient speed, so that whatever small demand power is there for the rotation of the vehicle, rotation of the wheels of the vehicle, can be supplied by using this peak power source. So that is the second mode of operation, which is PPS alone traction mode. Then third one is engine generator alone traction mode. So here engine generator alone supplies its power to meet the power demand. So P demand is equal to P or G. So the PPS does not supply any power here, but the power is supplied continuously by the engine or the generator, whatever is connected. Actually, it is not directly connected to the IC engine. The generator itself will supply the power to the motor. So this is the third operating range or operation mode of this hybrid electric vehicle. Then fourth one, PPS charging from engine generator. I think this we'll see in the next class. PPS charging from engine and generator. Here, what is happening is demand power is equal to generated power minus PPS. So, whatever power is generated by the generator, that is more than the demand power. As a result, the remaining power it can supply to the PPS.
ಮೇಡಮ್ ಇದು ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಇಡು
ಏನು ಇಲ್ಲೇ
ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಥವಾ ಇಡಿ
ಯಾಕೆ
ಅದು ನೀವು ಆಪರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ ಇವತ್ತು ಔಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಫ್ರೇಮ್ ಅಂತ
ಹೌದನ ಓಹ್ ಬಗ್ಬೇಕ್ಲಾಕ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಕಡೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹಾಂ ಅಷ್ಟು ದೂರ ಬರಂಗಿಲ್ಲ ಓಕೆ ಎಸ್ ಡನ್ ಓಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟು ಹಿಂಗೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ನಂಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬರ್ತದೆ
ಇಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಮೇಲೆ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಈ ಕಡೆ ಮಾಡಿ
ಇಲ್ಲ ನಾ ಕೆಳಗೂ ಇರ್ತೇನೆ ತಗೋ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತದೆ
ಹಾಂ
ಅಲ್ಲ ಇದು ಬರೋಬ್ಬರ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತದ ಅಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ನನಗೆ ಹತ್ತೋದು ಹಿಡಿಯೋದು ಬೇಡ ಹಾಂ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಡ್ತೇನೆ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಹಾಂ ಬೇಡ ಬೇಡ ಸಾಕು ಹಾಂ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಮತ್ತೆ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ನಂಗೆ ಹತ್ತೋದು ಹಿಡಿಯೋದು ಬೇಡ
ಈ ಬಾರ್ಡರಿಂದ ಆ ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್ ಬಾರ್ಡರ್
ಓಕೆ ನೋ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್
ಅದೇನಾದ್ರೂ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಹೊರ ಬಂದಲ್ಲ ಆ ಹುಡುಗರು ಡೌಟ್ ಬಂದಿತ್ತು
ಅಯ್ಯ
ಆ ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಲೇಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ
ಹೌದು ನಾ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಂ
ಮುಗೀತು
ಇಲ್ಲ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಓಕೆ ನಾ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ನಂಗೆ ಹತ್ತೋದು ಬೇಡ ನಾನು ಹತ್ತೋದು ಇಳಿಯೋದು ಬೇಡ ನೀವ ಕೂತ್ಬಿಡ್ರದು ಅದು Yes, in continuation with yesterday's class, the radiation thermometers. So basically, slightly I'll give a link. Basically, they work on IR radiations. So the energy emitted by the electromagnetic radiations of different body temperatures is considered and sensed, and accordingly the temperature is displayed. So you have different varieties used for testing the temperature of even surfaces, uneven surfaces, fluids, and machineries, moving vehicles. So for stationary, a different set of IR sensors, and for movable ones, another set. For machinery, another set. For human bodies and animal bodies, another set of thermometers are available. Now in this we'll see different types, and depending upon the application, how many varieties are available and what is the range. The major one is like for negative temperature measurements, for positive temperature measurements. Again here